I grew up in Montana, and I just love the outdoors. I taught myself to play guitar at the age of about 14.
I grew up in Montana. It's untouched by the world, it feels like. You're kind of just living in this magical paradise. You're able to get outdoors anywhere. Music has kind of always been a part of my life. I remember when I was little, 3, I got a keyboard, but it was my life. Like, I loved it. I was always singing. At 7 years old, I signed up for piano lessons, and since then, music has just been my thing. I met Franklin on Wednesday nights at youth group while leading worship, and there was something about him that I just knew. I knew I had to introduce myself. And I walked right up to him and I said, "Hi, my name is Morgan. What's your name?"
I just go, "I'm Franklin." Very abrupt and unemotional, very antisocial. She's definitely pulled me out of my shell.
From there, we just started talking, and within a few 2 or 3 months, he had asked me out on our first date.
7 months after we started dating, her and I were married.
We've been married for 6 years now, and our wedding day was the best day ever. A year after we got married was when we wanted to start having children. We were ready. We've always wanted a big family. We got pregnant with twins, and we thought that that's what we had been waiting for. And then 3 months after we found out, we went in for our big twin scan and found out we lost them. Sorry. And it honestly just felt like the world was over. The world had ended.
It was really hard watching Morgan go through this miscarriage. Of course, I was there with her. I felt the pain too, but there's no way I could feel the pain the same way because it's just not the same. I'm a fixer. And so not being able to fix her pain kind of left me feeling defeated at times.
I just remember thinking to myself, I need to keep moving. I can't just sit in my house all day. I would go for 4-mile walks every day with my dogs, and I remember sweet prayers and talks that I would have with the Lord, even when I was in that dark place. And I think it was when spring came. When spring came and the sun was out and the snow had gone, the darkness had gone, I started feeling alive again. And my desire to be a mom started resurfacing again.
I still want to be a father, but I just didn't think of it as much because I didn't know how it would be possible at that time.
We started praying and thinking about it. And it was kind of just this cliffhanger. What are we going to do?
We had some friends talking about a new movie that was coming out called Sound of Freedom, and I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's a really interesting plot. So went and saw it with them and immediately had a bit of passion for the children that need homes and need saved from these terrible situations.
I remember Franklin saying, "Oh, I'm going to go to the movies." And we're not really big movie theater people. So I said, "I'm going to stay home." And he comes back home and there is a fire in his eyes that I've never seen before. He was angry, just this righteous anger.
The instincts for a godly man is to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And it just feels right to save these kids from vulnerable situations.
I had the same reaction that he did after the movie ended. And I remember us going and sitting in the car afterwards, just shell-shocked. We felt selfish that we were wanting a biological child after what we just watched, because there's children all over the world who need safe and protective homes. And that's what we have. So why not put the two together?
We were considering doing international adoption, but we were too young to do it. So we just kept working down the line until we could find a form of adoption that we could do.
After we had been praying about which avenue God wanted us to go down with adoption, He led us to domestic adoption. But we were pumped. We enjoy camping a lot, and we decided to go a few weekends after we saw the movie. And we were out by the lake having fun, s'mores, campfire, all the stuff. And we were talking about our adoption plan a lot. Something that was hindering to us was this is very expensive. We just were not in the place for that, especially after all of the medical expenses we had from the previous months.
Looking at the whole cost of the adoption, we were kind of wrestling with it initially because we're like, how are we going to pay for this?
And then we went to church that following Sunday, where our pastor was talking about impossible things that God can do. And he just casually threw in there, like, paying for an adoption. And Franklin and I look at each other like, did he just say that? And we felt that that was confirmation.
Throughout the Bible, God is just asking His people to take a step of faith and watch what He will do.
We knew that it was something that we had to do in faith. It took us a few months to get all of our paperwork put together with our adoption consultants. We had to complete our home study. That took a little while. So in February of this year, 2024, we went active and we started receiving cases. So a month after our profile went active, we received a case in our email, and I read over it, noticed that it was the most expensive case we had received so far. But I felt God saying, if you don't say yes to that, you have to. And so I called Franklin. I sent him a screenshot of the case. And he said, wow, this is the most expensive one we've seen so far. And he said, I feel like we have to say yes to it. And I said, I agree. So we said yes and thought that nothing was going to happen. And then the next day we got the call that we had been matched to that case. She said the birth mother chose you. And that was a good feeling. So I called Franklin and I said, hey, we just got chosen. We're matched. And he said, really? Which case? I said, the expensive one. And he went, okay, God's got this. I said, yes, He does.
We knew that we just had to be faithful and He would provide whatever it is that we needed. And we've prayed every night since then that He will.
The birth mom texted me while I was in a piano lesson, and she said, hey, the appointment went really well. Also, it's a boy. And I was just like, what? I couldn't pause and take a second to drink that in because I had to keep teaching. And I texted Franklin and I said, I know what the gender is. And he said he's tried calling me and asking if I could tell him. And I said, no, you have to wait till I get home so I can tell him in person.
Our son is due to be born October 12th, and it's getting really close. He's almost here.
It's God's will for us to care for orphans in one way or another. Some of us adopt. Some of us support and give. Adoption to us is not second best.
We want as many people as possible to see how amazing God's plan of adoption is.
We have been doing rummage sales, t-shirts, puzzles, the weirdest fundraisers, but we believe that this is happening so that we can bring more people into this story and bring awareness to adoption, and so that people can be a part of something big. God's writing a very beautiful story in our lives, and we're excited for the next chapter.